Shalom, giving all praises to the Heavenly Father, Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, Bahasham, Rachahakwadash. Double honors to the apostles, the bishops, and the elders at Great Millstone who rule well. Peace and salutations, as always, to the elect. Prophecy Watch, and in today's episode, pretty much we're going to play some videos, all right, speaking to this very prophecy here. As we know, all right, end time prophecy is directly linked, all right, with the end of Esau's world. As a matter of fact, we get that in the book of 2nd Esdras, the 9th chapter, all right, or the 6th chapter in the 9th verse. It says, "For Esau is the end of the world, and Jacob is the beginning of it that followeth." All right, and the end of Esau's world will be marked, all right, by an inquisition being made of them. All right, 2nd Esdras, chapter 6 and 18. All right, and it said, "Behold, the days come that I will begin to draw nigh and to visit them that dwell upon the earth, and will begin to make inquisition of them, what they be that have hurt unjustly with their unrighteousness, and when the affliction of Sion, the true Israelites, shall be fulfilled," showing you that the true Israelites will be in captivity up until the end of Esau's world, where we'll be delivered out of the new Egypt, as well as the various different countries where we be scattered. See, so we're living at the time where the affliction of Sion will be fulfilled, but that will be marked by an inquisition, all right, which is what? An inquisition, all right, is a judicial investigation, act or process of inquiring, searching into, seeking legal examination, a seeking of grounds for accusation. All right, as the man of sin is being revealed, see, it's marked by an investigation, an inquisition, which is fulfilled in this testimony. All right, that's why the Heavenly Father talks about the two witnesses, all right, that will be raised up in the latter days. Okay, let's get the book of, I believe it's, all right, Deuteronomy 17 and 6. "Out of the mouth of two witnesses or three witnesses shall he that is worthy of death be put to death, and at the mouth of one witness he shall not be put to death." So the Lord has raised up two witnesses, as it is here in Revelation, the 11th chapter, and the 3rd verse. He will give power unto the two witnesses, which is fulfilled in Judah and Ephraim. The remnant, the elect that will be raised up in the latter days, all right, will mark, all right, an investigation via a testimony. Okay, a testimony where we will put our lives on the line, all right, to ultimately tell the truth of this devil, who he is, who we are, and uncover all of his lies. As the scriptures tell you that Esau will be made bare. Okay? Esau will be made bare. Jeremiah 49 and 10. "But I have made Esau bare. I have uncovered his secret places, and he shall not be able to hide himself. His seed is spoiled, and his brethren and his neighbors, and he is not." So ultimately, this word is also a testimony against a fugitive that has not paid for his crimes. And we're at the time where this testimony is going to lead to a judgment that's going to lead to his sentence, all right, where he will ultimately be put in prison, all right, enslaved and judged, as it is written in Isaiah, the 24th chapter, in the 21st verse. "And it shall come to pass that the Lord shall punish the host of the high ones that are on high, and the kings of the earth upon the earth, and they shall be gathered together as prisoners." Okay, let's look up the word prisoners. This is what this testimony is going to lead to, a judgment. That's why we're called two witnesses. All right, a witness is someone who's witnessed a crime. Okay, a fugitive is going to seek, all right, to discredit a witness. And that's what he's trying to do through all of his wickedness and his magic and his, snares and his media. All right. He's going to try to accuse us, but all things are going to work in our favor and work against him. The word here is asayar, prisoners, prisoner, captive. So the kings of the earth are going to be what? Prisoners, captives. This is their judgment as prescribed by this testimony, that they're going to be gathered as prisoners are gathered in the pit and shall be shut up in the prison, and after many days they shall be visited. Again, these are the proud rulers, as you read in the NLT Isaiah 24 and 21. In that day the Lord shall punish the gods in the heavens and the proud rulers of the nations upon the earth. See? And this testimony has a lot to do with it. See, but the Lord has raised up the two witnesses, all right, but he's also raised up that third witness in the form of his own people, all right, other heathen, all right, and people that are a part of this system, all right, who are going to come out and tell secrets about things that they know and make things clear, and they're only going to make, all right, the testimony of the prophets more true and more valid. This is why we go to these videos and these articles, because these people work for us. Actually, they really work for Yahweh Bashmi Shai to bring out truths and uncover things that are going to be associated with the revealing of the man of sin in the latter days. And then shall that man of sin be revealed, as the scripture said, the end would not come till he was revealed and ultimately made bare. And he's being made bare. He's no longer able to hide himself, as we just read. Psalm 64 and 8. So shall they make their own tongue to fall on themselves. Okay? All that see them shall flee away. People are starting to see the perverse, wicked nature of these people, these small hats, the American government, okay, the powers that be, and how they work and operate to get the bidding of Satan done, all right, supporting the Zionist, all right, failure, all right, which prophetically we know has nothing to do with the true biblical Israelites returning to their land. As a matter of fact, let's start here. I'm going to get this video. This video here, we'll play some of this off of Israeli News Live. And, these Edomites are completely confounded. They're all over the place. All right. But they're even bringing out that these people who are calling themselves, all right, the chosen people and the you-wish people, they're not a fulfillment of biblical prophecy of the house of Israel returning back to that land. So with so many truths coming out, and this third witness, as we're going to show you a few things that's coming out and bringing out truths on this devil, and their own tongues are falling on themselves to only further, all right, justify and solidify what we're saying.
Peter asked Jesus who the fig tree was. He said it's the house of Israel. He literally
but is it really ancient Israelites in the land right now? Like, for example, Bibi Netanyahu, right? He's a Mileikowski, he's a Polish European.
No, to begin with, he's Ashkenazi.
I know.
He is not of the house of Israel.
Mm-hmm.
And Ashkenazi just means that you come from the region of Germany or Poland. All right, when they say Ashkenazi Jew, Ashkenaz comes from the seed of Japhet. All right, but Japhet, all right, or that was their land over there in Poland and Germany. But these small hats, these devils took over those lands, and ultimately their forefathers migrated from Germany, Poland, and these areas, all right, to the so-called promised land, right? And this is thus Ashkenazi. You can't be both Ashkenazi and, all right, Shemitic. You can't be Japhetic and Shemitic. All right, as the Jews come out of Shem, Ashkenaz comes out of Japhet. That doesn't make sense. And a lot of people get caught up in that term, Ashkenaz. Well, that means they're the seed of Japhet. No, they're saying our forefathers, who they say are Jews, came from the area of Poland and Germany and so forth. All right. And they're the real Jews that came from that land and returned through the Aliyah 1, Aliyah 2, 3, and then eventually 1948, the state of Israel was established, which in these latter days, one of the biggest lies that was ever told is now being uncovered. All right. That those aren't the true people. All right. And more of these Edomites are admitting it and coming up against them.
Okay, this group here, they only come in at the very last moment. I kind of wonder if it's
how about if it's some Palestinians too?
It could be that very easily.
They are called Palestinians, but you know how many of them are actually of ancient Israelite
let
origin.
Me clarify.
These people don't know what they're talking about. They're all over the place. But she's true. Some of those Palestinians could actually be Israelites. All right. Even some of the people who may look like small hats, they may be actually Israelites. The bottom line is that's not a fulfillment of Judah and Ephraim, all right, reuniting and returning back to that land to establish the throne of David. See?
Though. The Antichrist builds the third temple in Jerusalem. Mm-hmm. So modern Judaism that we have living in Israel will support the Antichrist.
Of course, I mean, it's blasphemy.
Right. What is he talking about? And again, there's no one Antichrist, but this state of Israel does support, all right, the agenda of Satan. All right, this anti-Messiah system. All right, they're all a part of it.
But yeah,
this fig tree group, they recognize that is false. And they go against it and they stand with Jesus Christ.
So you're saying about remnant of people?
It's not even a remnant. This is the last batch. Straw, so to speak. Yes, the last batch of Jews. Well, not even Jews. I don't even know if you'd call them Jews. They're just what Jesus told Peter. They're the house of Israel.
Mm-hmm.
These devils are completely confused when they try to go into the Bible, and it shows. Right?
And it's that's your Ezekiel 37, by the way, when it talks about the bones. Can these bones live again? Mm-hmm. Now, the bones actually are part of the resurrection during Christ's time.
Okay.
The bones are not talking about the resurrection, all right, during Yahweh's time. Now, there will be a spiritual awakening of the dry bones as they were in, all right, the valley of dry bones, which represents America. A valley is a low land. America is that low land spiritually. And the dry bones would awaken, all right. Judah and Ephraim, all right, both northern and southern kingdom would awaken out of a dead state through the preaching of the prophets and eventually awaken. The prophets will go out with the 12 tribes chart, all right. The teachings will go out and eventually the Lord will deliver us and bring us back into our land. That's what that chapter foretells. But these devils, I mean, again, real quick, let's get a scripture. Let's get the book of Obadiah, the I believe 8th verse, 7th or 8th verse. Shall I not in that day, saith Yahweh, even destroy the wise men out of Edom and the understanding out of the mountain of Esau? They don't know what the hell they're talking about. They're all over the place, but they're telling on one another. Okay? Which Teman represented the wise of Esau, Edom. This is Jeremiah 49 and 17. Concerning Edom, thus saith the Lord, is wisdom no more in Teman? Has counsel perished from the prudent? Is their wisdom vanished? For years, we looked at these Edomite biblical scholars as the end-all, be-all of knowledge. You know, but now with this word coming out, we're starting to see how absolutely confused they are when it comes to the Bible. But let's keep listening.
Okay.
Okay.
Didn't you just have a study on that?
Yes, I did.
Why don't we tell people to go over there so we can cover these topics
here? Right, you got
it. So,
he tired of her ass. She's like, shut the fuck up.
Anyway.
Well, the thing is, you can't really cover this if people don't understand that what we call the modern state of Israel really had no biblical grounds for coming into power today.
Exactly.
Because a lot of people, they write and they try to say, well, God put them in their land. No. The Rothschilds put them there, and it was with a lot of bloodshed that they put them there. You cannot have Jesus Christ, or let me first clarify one thing. When God promised Abraham, whoever curses you will be cursed, whoever blesses you will be blessed. That was to Abraham and Abraham alone. It's all in the singular, no plurals whatsoever, not Abraham and all your kids. No, to Abraham. Then Abraham, before he dies, gives it over to Isaac. Isaac gives it to Jacob. Why is it being passed down? And every time it's always singular. One person, one person, one person. Why? It's because of the seed.
No, it said, to you and your seed will I give this land. These devils don't know what they're talking about. But again, let's get into some videos. I just wanted to show that one. I thought that was funny. Our brother sent that earlier. I want to get into a few other videos where these devils are completely outing themselves, all right, in their own tongues, as prophecy said, which that will be a clear indication of the end. Ultimately, the Heavenly Father is allowing all of this to come out because there is an inquisition, all right, against this devil in the spirit. And he feels it. He knows it. This is why he has but a short time and he's moving and operating in such, all right, haste to accomplish and establish this NWO, which is why he's getting ready to bring hell upon the people, all right, in the form of draconian measures, all right, because he got caught, all right, as the scriptures say, thou art caught, all right. Jeremiah 50:24, I have laid a snare for thee, and thou art also taken, O Babylon, and thou was not aware. Thou art found and also caught because thou was striven against the Lord. And Babylon is the biggest supporter of those small hats. All right. And the small hats, all right, pretty much dictate and control the policies, all right, and everything that they want America to do throughout the four corners of the earth to get their bidding done. They do. The bankers, these bankers use America to go throughout the four corners of the earth, rape, robbing, and murdering. And ultimately the bidding of the small hat is being done. See, and many of these different nations are calling it out. All right, and we're living in a time where ultimately his time is up. All right, this is a video off of Lex Clips. Fair use, most controversial criticism of Israel lobby influence. All right, now what is a lobbyist? These lobbyist groups, which are controlled by the small hats, Esau, Edom, all right, basically pay off, all right, both sides of these campaigns. So no matter what happens, all right, the bidding of the bankers is done, no matter who's elected. The influence of these lobbyists who pay, all right, pretty much money talks. Let's just listen to him real quick.
Let me ask you about, you mentioned the Israel lobby. You wrote a book, probably your most controversial book on the topic.
Not probably. Clearly the most controversial book I ever wrote.
So you've criticized the Israel lobby in the United States for influencing U.S. policy in the Middle East. Can you explain what the Israel lobby is, their influence, and your criticism over the past, let's say, a couple decades?
Well, the argument that Steve Walt and I made, actually we wrote an article first, and which appeared in the London Review of Books, and then we wrote the book itself. Our argument is that the lobby is a loose coalition of individuals and organizations that push American policy in a pro-Israel direction. And basically the lobby is interested in getting getting the United States, and here we're talking mainly about the American government, to support Israel no matter what Israel does. And our argument is that if you look at the relationship between the United States and Israel, it's unprecedented in modern history.
And this is what you see happening today. All right. But we're living at a time where to support these small hats and what they're doing shows that you're completely wicked. See, they weigh in the violence of their hands through the earth. All right. And, you know, they're drunk in their pride and their power. You know, they have America behind them. You have the EU behind them. They have NATO. But the Lord is getting ready to break all of that up. And he set up certain people who are insiders to bring out these particulars, which they're a nation divided. Esau, Edom is a nation divided. There's so much division amongst the Edomites. All right, but they try to, keep you blinded by, putting, the Jake out there and the ditties and this and that and the bread and circuses. But that's no longer working. People are waking up. But he's talking about these lobbyist groups that ultimately pay off both sides to make sure that the bidding of, the state of Israel is pushed no matter what.
This is the closest relationship that you can find between any two countries in recorded history. It's truly amazing the extent to which Israel and the United States are joined at the hip. And we support Israel no matter what, almost all the time. Our argument is that is largely due to the influence of the lobby. The lobby is an extremely powerful interest group. Now, it's very important to understand that the American political system is set up in ways that allow interest groups of all sorts to wield great influence. So in the United States, you have an interest group or a lobby like the National Rifle Association that makes it well nigh impossible to get gun control. Right? And so with the Israel lobby, you have this group of individuals and organizations that wield enormous influence on U.S. policy toward the Middle East. And this is not surprising given the nature of the American political system. So our argument is that the lobby is not doing anything that's illegal or illicit or immoral or unethical. It's just a good old-fashioned American interest group. And it just happens to be extremely powerful.
And the very fact that they're allowed to have influence and to use their power and their money to influence and to buy off and to ultimately make sure their bidding is done shows you that this is a crooked system. Is unjust. This is how they're able to pass unrighteous decrees. This is why everything is all jacked up and messed up. This is one part of it. And this is another reason why your vote does not count. Okay? You don't have the influence of these lobbyists. Okay? This is why we need Yahweh Shai. Nothing will ever go our way in this system because they have the power pursuant to prophecy, all right, to work miracles, okay, to use money as a means to, their influence and power as a means to get a wicked agenda passed no matter what. All right, and to justify rape, robbery, and murder throughout the four corners of the earth. All right, as a matter of fact, I quoted it. All right. It's Psalms 58, I believe. All right. And 1, do ye indeed speak righteous, O congregation? Do ye judge uprightly, O ye sons of men? They judge people unfairly. Yea, in heart ye work wickedness. Ye weigh the violence of your hands in the earth. All right. You spread violence. All right. Throughout the whole entire planet Earth. All right. Through your policies. See? This is the book of James. The 5th chapter and the 1st verse of Salakia. The book of James. Chapter 5 and 1. Go to now, ye rich men, weep and howl, for your miseries shall come upon you. Your riches are corrupted, and your garments are moth-eaten. This is why the Lord is taking this place down. All right? As a matter of fact, before I get that, let's get this real quick. The throne of iniquity. The man of sin. All right? Psalms 94 and 20. NLT. Can unjust leaders claim that God is on their side? Leaders, all right, who decrees permit injustice, they gang up against the righteous and condemn the innocent to death. All right, but Yahweh is my fortress, my God, my rock, where I hide. God will overturn the sins of evil people back upon them. He will destroy them for their sins. The Lord our God will destroy them. Let's go back here.
And our argument is that this is not good for the United States because no two countries have the same interests all the time. And when our interests conflict with Israel's interests, we should be able to do what we think is in our national interest, in America's national interest. But the lobby tends to conflate America's national interest with Israel's national interest and wants the United States to support Israel no matter what. We also argue, and I cannot emphasize this enough given what's going on in the world today, that the lobby's effects, the lobby has not been pushing policies that are in Israel's interest. So our argument is that the lobby pushes policies that are not in America's interest or not in Israel's interest. Now you're saying to yourself, what exactly does he mean by that? What every president since Jimmy Carter has tried to do, as I said before, is to foster a two-state solution, to push Israel, which is the dominant player in Greater Israel, push Israel to accept the two-state solution.
And the two-state solution, all right, which is prophetic. Let's get the book of Ezekiel, all right, 36 and 5, all right, where these small hats and the Palestinians came to an agreement that, you know, the Palestinians would have this land and that the small hats would have this land, and they would have a two-party agreement where, you know, we would inhabit this portion of the land and y'all could have that. But ever since then, Israel has, you know, continuously bombed, raped, robbed, murdered, and continue to push and say, well, no, this belongs to us. It's a shit show, man. And meanwhile, America has supported them. If you look at the amount of land that has been taken from these Palestinians, which it doesn't belong to any of them, but we just speak on this for the sake of truth, you know, how much land have they they're still going. Right now, they're still going. What do you think's happening over there in Gaza? What do you think they're doing? Ezekiel 36 and 5, therefore, thus saith the Lord, surely in the fire of my jealousy have I spoken against the residue of the heathen, the Palestinians, Elam, Ishmael mixed, all right, and against all Idumea, the Edomites, which have appointed my land into their possession with the joy of all their heart, with despiteful minds to cast it out for a prey. See? They're casting it out for a prey. Okay? When you get the book of Isaiah 63, right? Isaiah 63 and 18, the people of thy holiness have possessed it but a little while. We only had it for 40 years. Prior to that, Adam dwelt, you know, in a garden eastward in Eden, you know, Jerusalem, you know, the promised land. All right? But as a nation, the nation of Israel, we've only possessed it for 40 years. See? The people of thy holiness have possessed it but a little while. Our adversaries have trodden down thy sanctuary. We are thine, thou never bearest rule over them. They were not called by thy name. Okay? Luke 21. Luke 21 and 24. And they shall fall by the edge of the sword, 70 AD, when we were kicked out of Jerusalem, and shall be led away captive into all nations, leading to the end time, where Jerusalem shall be trodden down of the Gentiles, and to the time of the Gentiles be ended. And we're living at a time where the Gentiles' times is being ended. But listen to what he just said again. Let's go backwards a little bit.
Lobby has not been pushing policies that are in Israel's interest. So our argument is that the lobby pushes policies that are not in America's interest or not in Israel's interest. Now you're saying to yourself, what exactly does he mean by that? What every president since Jimmy Carter has tried to do, as I said before, is to foster a two-state solution, to push it.
And they do that to make it seem like they're fair and that they're no. They're all, we ultimately know that the state of Israel is an extension of colonization of the British. Stealing land, doing what they do best. Rape, robbing, and murdering. All right. And through racial superiority, ethnically cleansing, all right, the people out of the land. All right. So as you can see here, the two-state solution is a proposed approach to resolving the Israeli-Palestinian conflict, which pursuing the prophecy, when the true Israelites get to that land, it shouldn't be any conflict. Remember, the night that the state of Israel was established, there was a war. Let's not forget that, okay? But the two-state solution is a proposed approach to resolving the Israeli-Palestinian conflict by creating two states, all right, on the territory of the former mandatory Palestine, all right, which that land belongs to the tribe of Judah, right? It's within their borders, but we have these two heathen nations. Jerusalem will be trodden down of the Gentiles until the time of the Gentiles be ended. Okay, and you have the Arabs, which Elam Arab is really Arabs, the children of Ishmael. Some of them are Elamites as well, East Indians. All right, fighting, all right, with the small hats, the Idumeans, as we just read in Ezekiel 36. All right, but they were supposed to have a two-party solution. Okay, the first proposal for separate Jewish and Arab states and territory was made by the British. The British in 1937. But did they ever agree upon the two-state solution? Absolutely not. Okay, how much land has been stolen? Okay, which anybody you show this, you know, that supports the state of Israel will say that this is a lie, but the green represents how many Palestinians were in that land, all right, prior to these small hats getting there. But look over the years, all right, how they have decreased. They've been pushed out. They've been ethnically cleansed. But they were supposed to have a two-party solution, all right, to where they agree, you get this land and we get these lands. But since then, it's been nothing but war, okay? And look what it's ended in. And to this day, there's wars bombing the hell out of these, all right, people, which, hey, we don't give a damn either way. All right, we're not pro-Palestine, we're not pro-Israel. We're just giving you the truth of the facts according to prophecy, okay?
Israel, which is the dominant player in Greater Israel, push Israel to accept the two-state solution. And we have run into huge resistance from the lobby whenever we tried to, let's be blunt about it, coerce Israel, right? In a perfect world where there was no lobby and an American president was free to put pressure on Israel, to coerce Israel, I believe we would have gone a long way towards getting two-state solution. And I believe this would have been in Israel's interest. But we couldn't get a two-state solution because it was almost impossible to put meaningful pressure on Israel because of the lobby. So this was not in Israel's interest, and it was not in America's interest. And that was the argument that we made. And we, of course, got huge pushback for making that argument.
What's the underlying motivation of the lobby? Is it religious in nature? Is it similar to the way war hawks are sort of militaristic in nature? Is it nationalistic in nature? What's if you were to describe this loose coalition of people, what would you say is their motivation?
Well, first of all, I think you have to distinguish between Jews and Christians. You want to remember that there are a huge number of Christian Zionists who are deeply committed to Israel no matter what, right? And then there are a large number of Jews. The Jews are obviously the most important of those two groups in the Israel lobby. But, you know, one of the arguments that we made in the book is that you should not call it the Jewish lobby because it's not populated just by Jews, and Christian Zionists are an important part of that lobby. But furthermore, there are a good number of Jews who are opposed to the lobby and the policies that the lobby purveys. And there are a number of Jews who are prominent anti-Zionists, right? So, and they're obviously not in the lobby. Or if you take a group like Jewish Voice for Peace, right? Jewish Voice for Peace is not in the lobby. So it's wrong to call it a Jewish lobby. But with regard to the American Jews who are in that lobby, I think that really this is all about nationalism. It's not so much religion. Many of those Jews who are influential in the lobby are not religious in any meaningful sense of that term, but they self-identify as Jewish in the sense that they feel they're part of a Jewish nation, and that in addition to being...
It's all Edomite supremacy. Edomite supremacy is hidden under the term white supremacy, but these are really Edomites, man.
an American, right, they are part of this tribe, this nation called Jews, and that they have a responsibility to push the United States in ways that support the Jewish state. So I think that's what drives most, if not almost all, the Jews. This is not to say there's not a religious dimension for some of them, but I think that the main connection is much more tribal.
The state of Israel was founded by atheists. Okay? I believe his name was Ben Gurion. You can look him up. These were atheists, man. Okay, this state of Israel was not rooted in pushing biblical principles in the land and setting up the throne of David. It was rooted in Edomite supremacy and ethnically cleansing, all right, these people out of the land because it belongs to us. And they'll dangle the Bible out there as to make it seem like they're really, but they're not about the scriptures. Okay, we're about the scriptures, and the scriptures condemn them, and they know that. Okay, but you can keep watching this video; it's pretty good. Listen to a little bit more.
Nature.
So I had a conversation with Benjamin Netanyahu, and he said fundamentally, if you're anti-Zionist, you're anti-Semitic. So the Zionist project is tied to the hip to the Jewish project. What do you have to say to that?
Look, you can define anti-Semitism any way you want, right? And you can define anti-Semitism to incorporate anti-Zionism. I think we have reached the point where anti-Semitism is identified today, not just with anti-Zionism, but with criticism of Israel. If you criticize Israel, some people will say, you're an anti-Semite. And if that's your definition of
But, the Palestinians are Shemitic. We're Shemitic. Shem had 5 sons. Okay? So, how do you determine... See, this is why they won't put us, the true Israelites, all right, the ones who speak the truth on a real platform. Because we're going to get down to these facts. See, but the pseudoscience, the wickedness, the ability to, pull shit out of thin air and lie. And hey, but as you can see, their own tongues are falling on themselves, man.
Anti-Semitism, it's taken an important term and stretched it to the point where it's meaningless.
Right.
Right. So when Steve and I wrote the book, wrote the article and then wrote the book, all sorts of people said that we were anti-Semites. This is a ludicrous charge, but what they meant was you're criticizing the lobby, you're criticizing Israel, and therefore you're an anti-Semite. Okay, if that's what an anti-Semite is, somebody who criticizes Israel, probably half the Jewish community, if not more in the United States, is anti-Semitic. And of course, you get into all these crazy games where people are calling Jews self-hating Jews and anti-Semites because they're critical of Israel. But even people who are anti-Zionist, I don't think they're anti-Semitic at all. You can argue they're misguided, that's fine. But many of these people are Jewish and proud of the fact that they're Jewish. They just don't believe that nationalism and Jewish nationalism is a force that should be applauded. And
a house divided, man.
You want to understand that in the American context, there is a rich tradition of anti-Zionism, right? And these were not people who were anti-Semites, if you go back to the 30s, 40s, 50s. And the same thing was even true in Europe. There were all sorts of European Jews who were opposed to Zionism, where they...
So you can watch the rest of this video, but as you can see, these Edomites are absolutely... all right, divided. All right, next up we have Iranian professor ends Piers Morgan's career. All right, that's clickbait. All right, heated Israel-Palestine debate. We're going to skip through some of it, but we're going to listen to the majority of it.
I'm smirking at you because you are clearly being dishonest.
Again, you're smirking. You can explain why.
Of course, I'm smirking. It's funny the way in which you always frame things. People are not intimidated by you. That's the problem. You can intimidate some of your own people, but you can't intimidate us.
I don't intimidate anybody. I want to get to the... Yeah, I want to find out. I'm just fascinated.
So don't be silly.
An Iranian professor humiliated Piers Morgan on his own show, leading to career-ending embarrassment to Piers Morgan.
How would you categorize what happened on October the 7th? Was that a terrorist attack?
No, it was a retaliation of a people who were imprisoned and who were starved and who were regularly battered. And people who were imprisoned...
See, they bring up all right, 10/7, which we ain't on any of their sides, but they bring up October 7th, but they don't bring up the history, all right, which ultimately is just a bunch of heathen, all right, a warring over a land that ain't theirs anyway, fulfilling prophecy, all right, and it's going to be used to bring about World War III, all right, one of the catalysts to bring about World War III, the least of the flock drawing them out, all right, but there's a history of these small hats, all right, working iniquity. Again, there was supposed to be a two-state agreement where they were supposed to both just have these particular territories. So why has there been friction and constant war if you agreed to a two-party solution? But see, these lobbyists, all right, are able to get America to ultimately pass legislation and aid them along with the EU and so, of destroying these nations, warring against them. Who's giving Israel the kick that they need, all right, in order to kill, steal, and destroy? Babylon. But let's keep listening.
Just to be clear, you think that the slaughter of 1,200 people, the raping, the maiming, the incinerating, the mass murder that went on that day by a group whose own spokesman, the Hamas spokesman, said days after that, on television, on camera, that Hamas was wedded to committing the same act again and again and again, as often as it could, which actually is the purest personification of the genocide that you're talking about. You don't condemn that.
You're being dishonest. There is no evidence. No. There's no evidence of rape, and I ask your viewers.
Absolute nonsense.
It's absolute nonsense that there's systematic rape, and if you are being dishonest intentionally, you are helping the Israeli regime continue its genocide by justifying it through dishonesty. So that's up to you to decide. There's no evidence of.
See, the American media also, okay, is used as a tool, all right, to push narratives, all right, and justify, all right, waging war. This is one of the way they keep war going, all right, but they manipulate the minds of the people through a process of witchcraft, all right, and to voting these things into and agreeing with it and fighting for it. See, but really it's the working of Satan. This is the man of sin right here. But let's just watch how this Iranian professor deals with this demon right here. Esau Edom is losing control of the narrative, and it's only so far that they can go before the Lord. They're just gonna lose their minds.
Systematic rape, and just like the beheading.
There has been clear reported evidence of rape and sexual abuse against Israeli women. Demonstrable evidence.
I refer you and your audience to the good work carried out by people at the Gray Zone, at the Electronic Intifada, based in the United States. Many of them are people of they're excellent reporters, and you should invite them on your show to talk about these allegations.
I talked to top reporters who covered this.
Well, I'm
also interested, Professor, that you only want to deny that there was rape. You don't want to deny the incineration or the beheading or the mass murder of Holocaust survivors, the kidnapping of several hundred people, including babies. I mean, do you condemn any of that, or do you think all of that is justified?
Look, Pierce, you're trying to play with words, and that's fine, as long as you're not trying to justify. You're playing because there's no evidence of beheadings. You're just taking the dishonest Israeli regime's account, which they have no evidence, and people have written articles.
There was demonstrable, proven evidence that people were beheaded. Provable evidence. And more than that, we know from Hamas's own video coverage of what they were doing in real time that they proudly broadcast to the world. We didn't try and hide this. I'm just curious why you, who is so incensed by what you see as Israeli genocide, why you would not be equally incensed by genocidal behavior from Hamas that day.
No, you're not being honest. And where did they broadcast this footage of beheadings, the Hamas, to the world? Can you put it right now where you have?
I didn't say they broadcast the beheadings. There was evidence found of people who'd been beheaded. That was not broadcast. But what was broadcast was the one. I didn't say there was footage of the beheading. I said there was evidence found that people had been beheaded, right? But I would also say to you that what was broadcast by Hamas of Hamas slaughtering people and kidnapping people, I'm proudly boasting about it. Something you seem to be smirking about.
I'm smirking at you. I'm smirking at you because you are clearly being dishonest. If there were people, innocent people, anywhere, whether in Palestine or elsewhere, who were killed by a soldier, by anyone, that is of course unacceptable. But these claims of systematic rape, these are dishonest claims. People have done hard work to prove that there's no evidence for these systematic rapes and beheadings, and these were used as propaganda to justify the beginning of this Holocaust in Gaza. And those who continue to make these
you talk about me being dishonest, Professor. You talk about me being dishonest, but what you've just said is an absolutely shocking example of dishonesty. Hamas didn't even try to hide what they did. They made no secret of their delight, their joy, their pride in what they were doing. Some of them rang family members back in Gaza to boast about what they'd just done to old women, to children. And I'm just curious why you can't find yourself able to condemn it.
In the day and age when everyone has cameras, and there are cameras all over the place, show us the evidence. Show us the evidence. Especially in Israel, which is a society which has cameras all over the place, but you don't have footage of any beheadings, and you don't have any footage of any rape. I wonder why.
Well, there were bodies found who had been beheaded. That is a fact.
So, okay, show them all these bodies that have been beheaded. Show them on your show. Show those pictures.
How many people do you think were killed that day?
I think roughly between 1,100 and 1,200. Many of them were soldiers.
So you accept there was a mass slaughter. Does that constitute genocide to you? Is that an attempt at genocide?
No, it's like you saying that the French resistance, which was operating against the Nazis, and they go and carry out an operation, and during that operation, some children are sadly killed. So you say, oh, so the whole French resistance is illegitimate, and the Nazis' occupation is legitimate. That's nonsense. If, as I said very clearly, wherever an innocent person is killed, that I condemn, everyone condemns, and I wish you would condemn, because a genocide is taking place, and you are putting forward claims without the justification to make them, without the evidence to make them. I would refer you again to those websites and those reporters and journalists who've proven that the claims were inaccurate, to say the least, and dishonest, most probably.
What is the view from Tehran about what's happened here?
The view from Tehran is quite clear. You know quite well, I know quite well, your viewers know quite well, that the Israeli regime is carrying out genocide. And this stems from ethno-supremacist ideology. It stems from apartheid, and this is unacceptable. And the people who lived on that land, they have been expelled. The people in Gaza, they live in a concentration camp, now a death camp. And the West has brought about this situation. Whatever crimes that they've committed against Jews and Gypsies and Slavs, they have to pay for it themselves. They can't take it out on the Palestinian people. So the Iranians, along with almost everyone else in the world, except for some people in your part of the world, believe that the apartheid regime has to come to an end. And by coming to an end, it means that all people of that land have to be able to live as equal human beings. I know that sounds very crazy, but ethno-supremacy isn't a good thing.
But the position of the Iranian regime is that Israel shouldn't exist, right?
Well, the position of the British regime is that Israel as an apartheid state should continue to exist. The position of the American regime is that Israel is...
If you could, look, that wasn't the question I asked you, but is the position of Iran's regime...
I'm answering.
Yeah, but what is the answer to that question?
I'm getting there. The position of the American regime is that apartheid should continue. Iran's position on South Africa had the same gap. There was the same gap back then when the British and Americans supported apartheid in South Africa and racial supremacism in the South African regions, Zimbabwe today and so on. Back then, Iran was supporting indigenous population. Back then, Iran supported the ANC. Back then, Iran supported the military wing of the ANC and Nelson Mandela.
But we're not talking about South Africa. I'm talking about what is Iran's regime's current position in relation to Israel.
The Iranians believe that Israel does not have moral legitimacy as an apartheid regime. And the only way that it can gain legitimacy is that if apartheid is cast aside, if ethno-supremacism is cast aside, if racial and religious discrimination in the sense that Muslims and Christians are lesser human beings and they don't have any right to the land that they've been on for hundreds of years, that should be set aside. People who have been expelled have the right of return. It's not very complicated. It's not, as you say, rocket science.
Iran has had a vested interest in supporting terror against Israel for a very long time.
No, I think the regimes that have a vested interest in supporting terrorism are the ones who are giving the Israeli regime the weapons to carry out genocide. And the genocide began long before October the 7th. And the Gaza Strip was...
And that's Babylon, all right, the EU, NATO, so forth, you know.
A concentration camp long before October the 7th. You know as well as I that October the 7th didn't occur in a vacuum. And the terrorism has been carried out regularly by the Israeli regime on the Palestinians of the Gaza Strip for decades. It regularly bombed them and killed them. And it's not just the Gaza Strip. I think roughly 400 Palestinians have been murdered in the West Bank over the past 6 months. These are regular occurrences. But it doesn't register in the West because, again, the Israelis are European. It's a European colony. They have priorities over the brown people of the land. But it is a fact that Palestinian children, according to the statements made by senior Israeli officials, Palestinian women, according to members of the Knesset, they are lesser people. If you look at the South African complaint, they clearly point out the views of these people and the starvation siege and the intention to starve the people of Gaza, women and children. That is because they look at them as inferior people. This is not about two armies. This is about a subjugated people trying to stand up for their rights. So don't be silly. The Israeli regime, they're always lying, just like the Al-Shifa hospital. They're full of underground tunnels. Where were the tunnels? And then at the beginning, when they struck the Al-Hindi hospital and killed hundreds of people, they said, no, it was the resistance. And the Western intelligence agencies said the same thing. And then we saw them hit hospital after hospital after hospital after hospital. So you put your faith in the narrative of these child killers who bomb hospitals and destroy the very basis of humanity, the very basic needs for ordinary people in Gaza. The Holocaust continues as we speak today. When the president of Brazil and other world leaders say what the Israeli regime is doing today to the people of Gaza is just like what the Nazis were doing in Germany, no one is going to forget because the Iranians retaliated.
If Israel does strike Iran, it has a far more sophisticated and powerful military capacity. And if America was to defend it against any further retaliation of the kind that you're describing, then Iran would get wiped away, wouldn't it? I mean, you can't possibly compete with the combined military firepower of countries like Israel and America. Why would you pretend otherwise?
That's your wishful thinking. The Israeli regime is vulnerable and weak, and it has shown itself to be incapable of taking a dot on the map. They haven't been able to take Gaza after 6 months of genocide. They haven't been able to take even northern Gaza after 6 months.
America is not the powerhouse it used to be. EU's divided. NATO's divided. These devils are fooling themselves, but listen to what let's listen to what Piers just said, and let's listen to his response.
These child killers who bomb hospitals and destroy the very basis of humanity, the very basic needs for ordinary people in Gaza. The Holocaust continues as we speak today. When the president of Brazil and other world leaders say what the Israeli regime is doing today to the people of Gaza is just like what the Nazis were doing in Germany, no one is going to forget because the Iranians retaliated.
If Israel does strike Iran, it has a far more sophisticated and powerful military capacity. And if America was to defend it against any further retaliation of the kind that you're describing, then Iran would get wiped away, wouldn't it? I mean, you can't possibly compete.
Iran would get wiped away. Well, you have to understand, Iran is now linked prophetically all right, with, hey, Gog of Magog, all right, Russia, and all of these other groups. They're forming BRICS. They're forming their own beast system.
With the combined military firepower of countries like Israel and America. Why would you pretend otherwise?
That's your wishful thinking. The Israeli regime is vulnerable and weak, and it has shown itself to be incapable of taking a dot on the map. They haven't been able to take Gaza after 6 months of genocide. They haven't been able to take even northern Gaza after 6 months of genocide. They have to withdraw at least 100 to 200,000 people from northern Israel because they cannot stand up to Hezbollah. They cannot push Hezbollah back. They cannot defeat them. So you think the Israeli regime is going to defeat Iran? Your media outlets in the West have been misleading the people for 2 years now, saying Ukraine is winning, Ukraine is winning. Suddenly everyone is saying Ukraine is falling apart. Dishonest narratives and reporting dishonestly to your own people ultimately hurt the people of England and Europe and the United States. And your endless wars based upon this nonsense and this misinformation lead to huge waves of refugees. And then the people of Europe feel overwhelmed by these refugees that you yourself brought upon yourself. When the West continues to support the atrocities carried out by the Israelis, when the West openly supports an ethno-supremacist regime, and when the West supports a genocide, the public across the region is turning not only against the Israeli regime, but against the West. A few families who are ruling over countries are not public opinion. And ultimately, by pursuing this, they're creating a rage that they cannot stop in future. And just one final point on a personal note. I experienced what the West does to the non-Western world. When your governments were supporting Saddam Hussein, when your governments were arming him in the 1980s, before you turned against him, your governments gave him chemical weapons. I survived 2 of those chemical weapons attacks. I survived both mustard gas and I survived nerve agents that were provided by Western governments to Saddam Hussein. And many people did not survive. The intentions of Western regimes are not benign. Your governments have done nothing but ruin and destruction for our part of the world and for much of the rest of the world. And now, because of the mess that you've created across the board, you're now ruining the lives of your own people.
Flawless victory. Let's get the book of Habakkuk. Habakkuk. As a matter of fact, let's get Micah. This the second chapter. Woe to them that devise iniquity and work evil upon their beds. When the morning is light, they practice it, because it is in the power of their hand. And they covet fields and take them by violence, and houses and take them away. So they oppress a man in his house, even a man in his heritage. Therefore, thus saith the Lord, behold, against this family do I devise an evil from which ye shall not remove your necks, neither shall you go haughtily, for this time is evil. So you're not going to get out of the judgment. Okay? In that day, all right, it says, and this is happening now, Micah 2 and 4, I'll read it in NLT. In that day, your enemies will make fun of you by singing this song of despair about you. We are finished, completely ruined. God has confiscated our land, taken it from us. All right. He has given our fields to those who betrayed us. And that's these Edomites. Okay. Esau, Edom. This goes along with the book of Habakkuk, the second chapter. In the 5th verse. Yea, also because he transgresseth by wine, he is a proud man, neither keepeth at home. Okay. Again, all right, these small hats use America, all right, along with the NATO, the EU, to go throughout the 4 corners of the earth, rape, robbing, and murdering, to get their bidding done. Okay? Yea, also because he transgressed by wine, he is a proud man, neither keepeth at home. He's a fugitive, who enlargeth his desires as hell, as death, and cannot be satisfied, but gathereth unto him all nations, and heapeth unto him all people. Shall not all these take up a parable against him, and a taunting proverb against him, and say, woe to him that increaseth in that which is not his, how long? And him that ladeth himself with thick clay, that debt. Okay? And you go to these different lands, you wage war, you put, all right, loans on these people after you destroy them, and you have these countries in debt. All right? But it says, suddenly your debtors will take action. They will turn on you and take all you have while you stand trembling helpless. As a matter of fact, another video real quick. All right, South African president gives astonishing speech condemning Israeli apartheid at UN.
To be a stain on the conscience of the world. And the world community took a stand against genocide. Apartheid was declared a crime against humanity and a stain on the conscience of the world. The United Nations took a stand against apartheid. These were seen as crimes against humanity then, and they continue to be crimes against humanity now. It has been 11 months since the Hamas attack that killed 1,200 people and where hostages were taken. As South Africa, we have condemned this attack. In response, Israel embarked on an act of collective punishment in its assault on the people of Gaza. The torment of the people of Gaza continues unabated. More than 41,000 Palestinians have been killed. Homes, hospitals, churches, mosques, and schools lie destroyed. Famine and disease stalk the streets of Gaza. This cannot but shock our collective humanity. The violence the Palestinian people are being subjected to is a grim continuation of more than half a century of apartheid that has been perpetrated against Palestinians by Israel. Know what apartheid looks like.
Let's look up the term apartheid so you can know what they're talking about. Give me 1 second here. Okay. Apartheid was a system of racial segregation and discrimination that was enforced in South Africa from 1948. What happened in 1948? That's when the state of Israel, was established. To the early 1900s, the term apartheid comes from Africans' word separateness. Okay? The government classifies citizens into 4 racial groups: white, black, Indian, colored, non-white. Okay. Apartheid laws require non-white South Africans to live in separate areas from whites. Basically, they stole land, man. Destroy, rape, rob, murder. Okay? So that's what he's talking about. Let's rewind it a little bit when he's talking about apartheid.
Homes, hospitals, churches, mosques, and schools lie destroyed.
And that's what's happening now with those Palestinians.
Famine and disease stalk the streets of Gaza. This cannot but shock our collective humanity. The violence the Palestinian people are being subjected to is a grim continuation of more than half a century of apartheid that has been perpetrated against Palestinians by Israel. We South Africans know what apartheid looks like. We lived through apartheid. We suffered and died under apartheid. We will not remain silent and watch as apartheid is perpetrated against others. Through the United Nations and the instruments it wields, we must end the suffering that Palestinians are being subjected to. We are called upon to uphold the principles of the UN Charter and to uphold consistently and in their entirety the fundamental tenets of international law. International law cannot be applied selectively. No one state is more equal than any other. In December last year, South Africa approached the International Court of Justice, seeking an...
You can watch that video too. I mean, I got a few more videos, but I'll probably just end it there. But as you can see, I mean, we're living in a time, man. This is a good one too. Oh, man.
Beneficial because the other side is more evil. You know what it is, Candace? Guess what? Why don't she run in 2028 and her number one thing should be get rid of AIPAC and Israel lobby? See what it does.
Good luck.
No, what I'm saying is run on that. I'm actually not saying good luck. He's saying good luck.
I'm saying good luck.
Yeah. No, what he's saying is good luck, you win. What I'm saying is go see how many more people are for that. And that's America. Go prove your argument. Get support and run on that. Because when you're campaigning, a president chooses a handful of things to campaign on. You want Trump's top 5 to be Israel? No. By the way, every single president since Nixon days had a hard time negotiating with Israel. Every single one of them. And you know why it was? half the battle for them was when Kissinger and Ford were pissed off, and they came out with a plan, and they what do you call it? Where it's like
they brushed them off.
And Congress passed it,
but the House was going to do it.
Yeah, they passed it.
Yeah,
because Israel, the lobbyists, they had won over so many people in Congress that they were going to go that way because that's where the money was coming from. You know, the Bowman guy that got replaced.
Yeah.
And who's the other guy? Ilhan Omar? Cory
Bush.
Cory Bush. Guess who got rid of those two guys? AIPAC. Do you want them in there or do you want them out?
I want them out. Yeah, so it's like a
AIPAC helped you.
Of course.
This is such a it's such a Tom, you look like you want to say something.
Tom,
go ahead,
please.
Tom.
No, I'm sitting here listening, and what people have to understand, and I'm going to step away from all the inflammatory stuff. One point, I'm not going to comment on that. What Pat just said is very important. Nixon Kissinger, Ford Kissinger, Carter Zbigniew Brzezinski, I think. No, Cyrus Vance. And you go through all the Secretary of States and the presidents. They're trying to negotiate certain things up here. And they effectively have term limits, 8 years, right?
Yep.
Well, it's like what Nancy Pelosi said about W. W may be here for 8 years. We'll be here a lot longer. We can manage it. Israel functions almost like a senior senator. And what does a senior senator do? I'll give you the bridge deal. I'll give you the farm deal. You got my vote. But, hey, I need you on the pharma deal, and I need you on the crime bill. And it goes back and forth like that. That's what Israel does in our own Senate and Congress. So when they're out there at the foreign policy level trying to do it, Israel is responding the same way that Nancy Pelosi responded to W. Don't worry about it. We can maneuver around this because we've got other things in play. We'll get the bill we want. We'll get the defense spending we want. We'll get the foreign aid package we want. That's the way the game is played. So I'm not going to comment on all the other things. What it is they have become an incredibly effective country that operates even better than some of the biggest lobbyists that we have in our own government.
Yeah.
And you sit back and you look at it and you say, you don't have to like it, but that's the game. That's actually the political game. That's the way the game is played. And they're just playing it superbly well to get what they want. And the difference between Big Pharma, which is practically a country, in Israel is at the base level, not a lot. They're getting what they want and what they feel their interests are.
But are we supposed to let them get away with murder just because the enemy is way worse at doing murder? That's my point.
Wait, hang on, back off.
So wait, no,
hang on.
You're saying
hang
yes.
On. No, stop.
No,
Adam,
that's ridiculous.
Stop. Were you talking about Israel or Big Pharma?
Yeah, both.
No,
yeah,
but you see the point?
Yeah, no, I got you. Yeah, exactly.
Now you guys can go
Here's
fight.
what you're failing to understand.
Please tell me what I'm failing.
And you just think of this in non-emotional, reacting, like I'm in love with Candace Owens and everything she says.
You're in love with the Candace.
digest. I'm just saying.
Okay.
There's no perfect country on earth, bro.
I know that.
Do you though?
Yeah, I criticized Bush while I was in the military. That's why I left the military.
Precisely.
So continue. Yeah.
So you've been critical of your own government.
1,000%.
You're critical
That's why I love
of
this country.
Kamala Harris. You're critical of Biden. You've even been critical of Trump.
Thank you.
That's how this works. I said that everyone has to choose their enemies wisely. And I asked you, the enemy of my enemy is my
friend.
You got it right this time. I love you.
I was messing with you.
So you have to put every country on a 1 through 10 scale. The countries that you're most aligned with are 8s, 9s, and 10s. I would argue there's probably not a 10 out there that knows every single one of our secrets. But in the 7, 8, 9 camp are your allies. These are your NATO partners. This is Israel. This is Japan. This is South Korea. Every single one of these countries we've had issues with. We've gone to war with Germany, and now they're our ally. We've gone to war with Japan. We've gone to war with Italy. So at some point, if everything we do is, yeah, but the Nazis, oh my, Pearl Harbor, it's like you're never going to get ahead. So you want to do that? Oh my God, Candace once told me about USS Liberty. I get it.
No, she didn't. Me and Tom had that
Awesome, you found out for yourself. But none of this is new. The JFK conspiracies, the Bolshevik Revolution thing, Israel has been dealing with this forever. You think Israel is just this perfect country that is innocent, that has never done anything wrong? No.
Have they been held accountable for any of it?
Go ahead, are you the guy?
No, I'm not. Okay, but you just proved my point. So you can't, hold on, Adam, you just proved my point. So
you don't have a point.
USS Liberty,
your point is,
USS Liberty, dancing is...
Hold Israel accountable. Yeah, this dude is... I just like looking at these little, back and forth, because these are actual talking points on podcasts nowadays. That's why eventually they're going to have to do away with the internet,
Israelis cheering that the fucking towers were coming down, cheering. They all were part of intelligence. They all got because you're full of shit, Adam. No, because you love Israel. You can't. Adam, they can do whatever they want.
I acknowledge.
They can do whatever they want.
They are a better ally than enemy.
But you're saying they can get away with murder, Adam, because we're supposed to forget about it.
That's not what I'm saying.
That's horseshit.
Who has done worse things to America?
Okay.
Listen for a second.
Go ahead.
Don't be emotional.
No, how am I not going to be emotional?
Who has attacked America worse in the last 100 years? Germany or Israel?
Germany or Israel?
Yeah, who's had more deaths of Americans? Germany or Israel? This isn't a trick question. This isn't tough, bro.
Killing Americans.
Yes, killing Americans.
In war.
In a war.
Germany.
Okay, great. Who's killed more Americans, Japan or Israel?
Japan.
Okay, so why aren't you yelling and bitching about Japan or Germany?
Because they're not our freaking
Because why?
Because why? Because their prime minister doesn't come to Congress and everybody stands up and worships him like he's Jesus Christ.
That's
because they know who the guy in charge is, Adam.
Well, no.
They're not our. Hold on. Are they bigger allies? Do we give them as much money as we give to Israel? And they can do whatever they want. And you're failing to go back to what I said about Candace. You're not an anti-Semite. You don't hate Jews because you're criticizing Israel. And I get it. The Muslim world in Europe is doing what they're doing. I get it. I get it. But with zero accountability, that means, Adam, in 100 years from now, we're going to go, well, guess what? They did it, and who cares? Because they're our allies, so they can get away with murder.
So there's dozens of wars going on all around the world.
Yes.
Why aren't you talking about
who's the closest ally? Because, Adam, my tax dollars...
It's like the devil, all right, thinking you can point out this and that to take away from what you are going to be judged for. But anyway, I had a few other videos, but we'll do another one. Their own tongues are falling upon themselves, man. And this is ultimately all going to end in their destruction. Okay? Habakkuk 2:8, because thou hast spoiled many nations, the remnant of the people shall spoil thee because of men's blood, and because of violence of the city and of the land and all that dwell therein. Woe to him that coveteth an evil covetous to his house, that he may set his nest on high, that he may be delivered from the power of evil. All right. And he uses the American media. Okay. So that he's free from any blame, but it's all going to work against you, man. And ultimately it's all going to culminate. All right. In the destruction of that state by war via Russia, Iran. All right. And eventually America's going to get involved. And as you can see, via prophecy, America's going to be decimated. But I'm going to leave that there. All right, I know that was a lot, but hopefully I'll edify. Shalom.